All right, once again, good afternoon, everybody. And again, I'm going to deal with health and safety and security guidelines. And because I'm a healthy distance from you, I'm going to remove my mask. Because I'm a healthy distance from you. All right? So when we're dealing with these things, there are two things that must be foremost in your mind. If you're going to lead it, there are two things that must be foremost in your mind. The first thing is that to break the stigma around this virus, I wear my mask, I stay away from you, not because I'm scared of you. I'm not scared you're going to infect me. I'm scared I am a risk to you. Do you understand that? So to avoid stigmatizing people or making people feel funny, tell them, no, I'm staying away because I'm a risk to you. The moment you say, you give the impression that you're a risk to me, you're stigmatizing people. So the reason why you're keeping your mask, why I'm staying behind this desk, it's not because I'm scared of you. I'm scared I'm going to infect you. That must be in your mind. All right? So you've got to be the example of health and safety all the time. The second thing that must be foremost in your mind, the second thing is that I am the example of wearing my mask. I'm the example to my team of sanitizing. I'm the example of keeping my distance. All right? That same example you have to enforce on your team. Because if one person is allowed to be slack, if one person is allowed to operate without a mask, to go close to people and hug people and touch and all these things, you know, that person becomes a risk and that person can infect. And if one person in your team is infected, the whole team will be isolated for 14 days. And guess who's going to suffer? Who's going to suffer? The beneficiaries. The beneficiaries are depending upon you to stay healthy and to stay safe. As long as you are healthy and you are safe, then you can deliver food. But if you are not there, then you are breaking the chain of supply. So we're asking you, health and safety. I know it's a bit heavy and it's inconvenient and it's uncomfortable, but it must be done. Page 9 in your notes, page 9. Page 9, are we all there? We can turn to page 9, and I'm going to stick to the notes. Page 9. All there? Health guidelines, number 1. Your hands are to be sanitized always before and after handling goods. If you're packing oil or you're packing rice, how many people have touched that packet of rice before you? Many others. Many others. And you don't know where those things come from. So you must sanitize before you start. Sometimes you've got to sanitize while you're doing it. And you've got to sanitize at the end. Always make sure. Number 2, rubber disposable gloves can only be used once. These, Pastor Neville had gloves on. You know those gloves? They can only be used once. They're not exactly rubber, they're latex. All right, the soft rubber. All right? They can only be used once with every packing and drop-off and must be disposed of immediately after completion. Now, this is not in your notes. You can add this point over here. When you're working with food, have one box, one big box with a black bag. So if anybody is eating chips, when they finish with the packet, they throw it into that bag. If they're drinking a cool drink and the bottle is finished, they put that bottle into that bag. If they're using a tissue and they're sneezing or blowing their nose, they take that, whatever is waste, whatever is litter, goes into one black bag. All right? So you don't allow people to drink a lemon twist and put the bottle over there. You know? If they're eating a sweet wrapper, they put the sweet and they put the paper. No. Everything that your team touches goes into one bag. When you finish, you wrap that bag up nice and closely, put that bag with other dirt, and when the municipal truck comes around, make sure that bag is part of that. Is that clear? That's not in there, please add it. Number 3, where possible, maintain social distancing even while packing goods. Like Pastor Neville says, as we speak, my team is doing it. As we speak, they're busy now doing it. You know, they've got a whole line of things. I wish we could have created a video for it, you know. And everybody with their masks, and they will have a black bag, the heavy stuff first, you know, and they'll put into the bag, they'll put in, once the 2 meters, the next one comes, you know, and they put the bag down. You know, maybe actually we should create a video. I didn't think about it, you know, to do that. You know, you can physically see how it's done. I think picture paints 1,000 words. All right. Then number 4, every volunteer is to have their own personal rewashable cloth mask. Now, I've actually changed that to say they should have at least 2. At least 2. Now, why I say I prefer the rewashable one. I tell you why. Because today, I actually have 4. All right? I use this mask today. Now, the medical professionals say you have to wash your mask every single day. So when I get home this evening, I take this mask, I go to the bathroom, I wash it, and then I go and hang it up. Tomorrow morning, I don't use this mask, I use a clean mask. And when I come home tomorrow night, what do? I wash the mask, I hang it up, and the mask I used the previous day, I use that one again. Is that clear? That clear? So preferably 2 rewashable cloth masks must be used. Number 5, masks must always be worn when dropping off goods. Please, when you're going out over there, you don't know who you're meeting, you don't know who you're touching, you don't know who, you know. So again, safety first, that's the important thing. In Afrikaans, there's a saying, I don't know how to say it in English, but in Afrikaans it's a very nice, it says, beter bang Jan as dooie Jan. I don't know how you say that in English. What? Better safe than sorry. All right? So please, you know, they must continually wear the mask. Please stop me, ask me a question wherever as I'm going. Safety guidelines, number 1. Now, it's not in there, but number 1 is you must have a permit and an ID. Your identity document must be with you. And you must have a permit. Now, if you look at your notes right at the back, there is a copy of a permit. Here, right at the back of your notes. All right? Where you can make copies of that permit, and then your pastor or your reverend or your organizational leader or whatever, he can sign that and stamp it and all your details there. All right? So all your workers need to have one like that. At the moment, under level 3, they're not so stringent or rigid, you know. But still, if you've got a copy, you can use that. Is that clear? All right. Number 1, safety guidelines. Place individual food parcels in black bags to be less obvious. Now, the area that I work in is Jacksonville and Timothy Valley. And at the beginning of the lockdown, I don't know if you remember, there were riots and looting there. It was just down the road from the church. And we had to go back in. So I had to ask my leaders, it was really unsafe, really. And I had to now ask my leaders to go back in. So immediately I called all my leaders and I said to them, look, I can't order you to go. I can't. You have to do this voluntary. Because they're putting their lives and their cars at risk. You know, the police were stoned and we know what happened there. You know, that whole shop is still looted up till today. So all the leaders said, and the volunteers said, we're volunteering, we're still going, Pastor. We're still going and we're going to go in. So what we done is, we said, okay, right, now we have to be clear out, are we going to do this with safety? All right? So we decided to put all the food in black bags. Because black bags in the northern areas and they are less obvious. You know? People they use black bags like nothing there. So it was easy for us. When we drop off, we take the black bag and we walk. Nobody was going to look much, you know. But if you have a bag with food is visible, it becomes a bit of a risk issue. So the black bag was more of a safety issue, you know, around those things. Maybe the area you're serving is not as volatile as where we are, you know. You don't need black bags. But for safety's sake, we use black bags. Number 2, Package food parcels a safe distance away from the area you'll be serving, preferably in another safer suburb. All right? The food that we purchase, we go to, one of my elders lives in Newton Park. We go to his house. He's got a nice big area where you've got the garage that closes, and everything. So where we can pack all the food safely. Nobody is going to bother us, come and look and draw unnecessary attention. So we pack it over there. We put it into, he's got a nice big combi. I have a bakkie. We pack it all into stuff. And then we don't go into Jacksonville. We don't go into Timothy Valley. And to answer your question, one of my other elders lives in Heath Park. Heath Park is just outside of Jacksonville and Timothy Valley. So what happens is, all the area leaders, what they do is, they organize transport. They organize their own transport. All right? And so, let me take Heine. Heine's got a Polo Jetta. But one person in his area is Sydney, and Sydney's got a Corsa bakkie. So he takes Sydney, and he takes 2 other guys with him, and they come with that bakkie over there, and they come to Desmond's house. Now, if I take Timothy Valley has to have, Jacksonville, has to have about 46 parcels. All right? So they come, and they load their 46 in the bakkie. They just load up in Heath Park, and they go. And they go and drop those 46 door to door. It takes them about an hour 15 minutes to do all 46. All right? Is that clear? So you can't take food into let me use where I am. You can't take food into Timothy Valley and work there in the community. You are going to draw attention. I can't even use the church building. If I use the church building to pack food and to distribute food, and people are coming and they're seeing that food is coming in there and food's going out there, what happens tonight? What's going to happen tonight? Somebody's going to want to come to an evening service. Somebody's going to come to an evening, and there's no evening service. We don't have evening services at 3 o'clock in the morning. They're going to want to break in. They're going to think there's food there. So again, you can't keep food overnight. If you've designated a day and you're in an area that's a bit dicey, you've got to get rid of that food immediately, as far as possible. Is that clear?
I was going to ask, so like we've got people that come and collect, like you say, with transport, they take 50 parcels, and then they go to like Newport Valley in Morma Township, and then they call the people together and then hand out the parcels there, so they make like a queue. That's not the ideal.
No, not.
You've actually got to have someone that drops it at their homes.
Yeah. Let me go for, I'll come now to it. Number 3, use a garage or venue that is not visible to outsiders. Visibility attracts the wrong attention. So if you can keep it indoors where people can't see you, it's much better that way. And I'm going to come now to your point. Number 5. Number 4. Avoid the gathering of people to one drop-off point. Yeah. It's risky. A church, I think it was a storehouse in Lorraine. They went into Walmer Township with a police escort. And they were giving out food where people came. But the moment people start coming, look, the crowd will be too big. And so if you're seeing that the supply is going out and you're at the back in the queue and you're thinking, am I going to make it to the front? What are you going to do? You're going to start jostling to get to the front. And when you start jostling and you want to try and control, it's gone. It's gone. You're not going to control that crowd. When it comes to food, you're not going to control that crowd. And that crowd is not going to get smaller. And they're not going to get more peaceful. So bringing people to one point is a risk unless you're really sure that you can,
So the thing is, like we're planning to restart our soup kitchen. The people have got to get into the habit of social distancing. Because people are hungry. Now we're closing all our soup kitchens. They need the food, but they don't understand. They've got to just wait. Social distancing.
Well, it's the same problem that the government has now. The government has the problem where they've got to restart the economy, but they also got to keep the people safe. So you got either the virus kills you or hunger kills you. And unfortunately, the only answer I have is that we try to maintain social distancing, but in our township areas, people don't listen. They just do not listen. You can say maintain, but they don't listen. I don't know of a solution for that.
Can I suggest?
Yeah, Kenny.
We are teaching at Sophie, a place called Enkovi. The first time we brought food parcels there, we did exactly the same thing. We came with a car, the parcels were in a big, like combi. And then people flocked in.
Oh.
I was a bit concerned, you know. Then later, I understood the area now. If I'm going to do this again, we are going to get COVID-19.
True.
So next time we did it, we brought chairs
Yeah.
before we brought the food. We brought chairs and then we put social distancing, then red tape. Then if you are going to come and get the soup, you have to get the soup at the chair. You don't dish others.
Good.
So you come and sit down. If you're going to take the soup home, you're going to take it from the chair and go home. If you're going to eat it there, you're going to sit on the chair and then that's it. Then,
Did it work?
yeah, it did.
Good. Good. I think he used,
They come and sit on
Yeah, on the chair.
soup and then they go.
Yes.
And nobody pushes them.
No. We are there. I mean, I was there with some guys. And so we were able to control it. I mean, and
Yeah.
the place that we're in is the most uncontrollable place here. Most uncontrollable. If you can't, our car is it's got a sticker. So when they see the car,
they know.
tell others.
They know.
Yeah, they say Jesus is coming. They should say Jesus is coming.
Jesus is coming.
That's what is written on the car.
And then
So
they
say,
flock
"Yes,
around.
Jesus, yes, Jesus."
Yeah.
It's easy for them. It's easy for a gathering of 400 people. Yes.
And you only have 100 parcels, then it's a problem. It's a problem. So I would say, and I'll get to the point later. I'll get to the point later where you have to use local people. People who know the area. You know, I'm going to get to it now. I'll get to it now. Number 5. Now, number 4, avoid the gathering of people as far as possible to one drop-off point. People are, when it comes to food, it becomes a chaotic situation, you know, and then children get hurt. And I mean, it is sad to see when we can give a food parcel to children and adults rob them. It's crazy, you know. So we have to use wisdom how we do these particular situations. Number 5, ideally, door-to-door drop-offs are safer. Now, what we done is we have a list of people. We actually, the elders, they go into the area, they go and check everybody, they get everybody, this is a need in this house, this is a need in that house. Actually, they're now at the point where they can say that one went back to work, we don't need to give them parcels anymore. You know, that one, that 2 daughters went back to work, you know. And so we adjust the list. So if you have a list, actually it's biblical. If you read 1 Timothy chapter 5, there was a list of feeding. You know, they had a list. So you must have general feeding. There is a place for it. But if we as churches, we want to really make an impact, then we have to do it in an orderly, organized fashion. Because we're going to have to do this consistently. So working with a list helps quite a lot. And I'll come to that just now to show you how important a list is. So ideally, door-to-door drop-offs are safer. How do I do that? How do we do that? My leader, he comes with his team, and he comes, he picks outside the area, he picks up all his parcels. And then he goes back, because he comes from that area, he knows that area. And he goes door-to-door, dropping it. Door-to-door. Because he's got a list, and he knows who must be on the list, and he goes and drops it. I also do that. You know, we'll get to that. Number 6. NB, very important. Only use local people to do the drop-offs. Do not use strangers to the community. It's a risk. Sorry if I'm using a bad example. If the two of you go alone into Jacksonville, and you got all these good and godly intentions, we're going to feed, and you go in there with your 4x4
And the 4x4 too.
and your iPhone, and you go in there. You are going to have to, not even Uber goes in there. Not even Uber goes in there. So I'm saying, not even I. There are certain areas I don't go in because I'm not known in that area. If I go down to France Avenue, that area over there, I send Desmond in there. Because they don't know my bakkie. Jacksonville, Timothy Valley knows my bakkie. But the France Valley, they know Desmond's bakkie. And they know, kom hier pastoor. They call Desmond pastor already. Because like you say, yes, Jesus coming. They got used to it. And they know they get used to it. They know you're part of that community. So as far as possible, use local people. Is that clear? Number 7. Make sure that every team going out has a charged cell phone with airtime and data. Hey? Well, you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed because the last thing you want, and yesterday I used the example, if a team is out in Rocky Ridge and they got a flat wheel, or they're stuck with petrol. Look, if you stuck there and you got food in a bakkie, and the people go start coming, I leave that bakkie, I'm gone. I leave that van, I'm gone. So again, look, as far for me, I ask my guys who come there and volunteer their transport. I ask them, do you have petrol? Do you have diesel? Do you have airtime? The church I lead, we bank with FNB, which gives us e-bucks. I use the e-bucks to buy airtime for them and data, so they can make a WhatsApp call at least. So I buy 50 rands data for them or whatever, and then they can make a WhatsApp call. If there's a problem, Pastor, there is a problem over here. One of my leaders is a guy by the name of James. He's a taxi driver, and he goes into Timothy Valley. The angel, that area is a bit risky. One day James went in over there, and as he dropped off, one guy went in. These gangsters came, and they came, and now they call him Jumbo. He's a taxi driver, so they know him. So they say, now they come and they talk, hey Jumbo, what you doing here? In Afrikaans. But while they're talking to him, they're looking here at the back, and they see all the food. And he says, no, we're dropping off food for the church people. And they ask him a very important, they ask, is it only for the church people?
That was a question.
And luckily he could say, no, it's also for some people in the community. And this gangster says, but isn't there food for me? And James had his list. He had his list. And as the Lord would have it, as the gangster looks, he sees his mother's name. And he says, oh, but there's my mother's name. I live over there. Dankie Here. So he drops the food, he comes back. And then he comes back and he reports to me. And he says, Pastor, hey, some of those gangsters there by Sweden Street, they came and they, actually the other day, I don't know if I tell these stories on camera, honestly. My elder Desmond and his son and Elgarth and Jason, the 4 of them are a team. They went in, and I wish maybe I should get them in to come in. As they're dropping off now, Desmond is deaf in the one ear, and the gangsters start shooting. And the bullets are flying left, right, and center. And Desmond's son runs and jumps into the van. And Elgarth jumps into the van. And Desmond is deaf in the one ear, he doesn't hear anything. And he's the driver.
Oh, no.
And his son is screaming, Dad, right. And Desmond like, why? You know, and they were able to drop off and get out of. They went back. Because ultimately we call to serve. We call to serve. So James comes back and James says, Pastor, hey, those gangsters, they gave me a bit of hassles. So luckily we had a whole lot of loose food left over that wasn't enough for every parcel. So I tell James, make a big parcel. Take these leftovers and make a big parcel. And then you go back to those gangsters and you go give it to them. And he went. And you're going to go give it to them. Guess who's our best bodyguards now in that area? Those people. Because the Bible says, bless those who curse you. Love your enemy. Pray for those who abuse you. You know? So we have to use the biblical principles. Number 8. A minimum of 2 and maximum of 3, preferably men. I'm not being sexist. Per drop of vehicle. But look, if you're in an area that's nice and safe, then the women can do it as well. But preferably men. Because we're living in times that are very, very dicey. You know? Now, under level 3, you're still only allowed to have 3 people in a car. A maximum of 3 per car under level 3. Number 9, never leave your drop-off vehicle unattended. Driver always at the wheel, keeping lookout and the motor running. Almost like a bank robbery. You know? The guy that I work with, my elder Leslie, I drive, Les gets out with the parcel, he drops it. I sit, I wave to the family, I'm the pastor. If people see a pastor, what do? They don't want to, it becomes a counseling session.
Exactly.
You know? So I just sit in the car and hi Cindy, hi Abel, you know, Les drops and we move. You know. Also, I'm always keeping aware of what's happening around me while Les is going in. You know, what's happening. There's one particular area where we have to be really on onze hoede. I don't know what you say in English. You know, we have to be aware in that area, you know, because it's just risky. Number 10. Only one person enters the home to a drop-off. Only one, not more than one. To a drop-off, and maintains no physical contact with the family, but leaves the parcel at the door after it's opened and leaves immediately. Don't put it in the hands, put it on the floor, on the ground, you know, and then you move away. Hi, good to see you, God bless you, there you go. All right? Very, very important. Number 11, the leader must ask for immediate feedback after every drop-off for evaluation and improvement purposes. Like I told you now, with the feedback of James coming back, with the feedback of Desmond them coming back, we know now where the hot spots are, we know where the danger, you know, and we can immediately make the risk lower. At one time, one of the things we done in that one area, we went as the sun was setting. Somehow or the other, when the sun starts setting, it's more calmer. You know, so we could go that particular time. The last point, the very, very last point, and the most important point of all right, when you come home, if you've been out with a lot of people, and you've been working with all of these things and touching a lot of stuff, and you've been out over there, and you come home, now, fortunately, I have a garage, all right? I can pull my bakkie into my garage, and when I get out of my garage, my son comes with the sanitizer. I will take my shoes off in the garage, and he will sanitize my shoes in the garage. All right? He'll sanitize my phone, and I'll put my phone down. When I go into the house, I don't touch anything. I don't kiss my wife. I don't go to the fridge. I don't go to the stove. I don't touch any food. I don't touch anything in the house. I go straight into the bathroom, take my clothes off, get into the shower, my clothes get thrown into the clothing basket, you know. I shower and I wash myself thoroughly, you know. I go out and I put on clean clothes, all right. Then I go kiss my wife. Then I go to the cupboard and I eat, as you can see, you know, and I do all of those things, all right. The most important people you need to protect is your family. You can't be out there and want to be a hero and you come out and you come home and you are slack. You're not vigilant, you know. My wife, the moment I come in, my wife tells me, wash your hands. Wash your hands. I come immediately, you know. So we need that level of strictness when it comes to health and safety. Amen.